everyone, and welcome to another episode of the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast, a platform dedicated to centering our discussions around a crucial aspect of our communities. That is the small businesses. Choosing to support local businesses transcends mere transactional exchanges. It represents a profound commitment to fostering the growth and sustainability of our communities. In today's episode, we are immensely thrilled to welcome Bethany McKoy, a distinguished and influential figure in the legal and business spheres. Bethany's work and ethos profoundly embody the spirit of mentorship, diversity, and robust community engagement, making her insights particularly valuable in today's ever-evolving business landscape. Bethany serves as an Assistant Director of Professional Resources at Cassels, where she plays a pivotal role in recruitment, training, and professional development of the firm's summer and articling students. Her passion for mentoring young lawyers shines through her work. Bethany is also the co-chair of the Cassels Black Affinity Group and the Grant Oversight Committee. She has been instrumental in organizing the 2023 Black-Owned Small-Business Grant, which allocated over $100,000 in funding to 5 exceptional businesses. Her commitment to promoting diversity and inclusion within the business world is evident in her leadership and initiatives. Join us as we dive into an enriching conversation with Bethany, exploring the pivotal role of small businesses in shaping a more inclusive, prosperous society. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Bethany. Welcome, Bethany. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very well. Very pleased to have you with us this afternoon. Now, Bethany, let's turn our attention to the evolution of corporate social initiatives. There's a particular program at Cassels that has garnered attention for its innovative approach. Could you share with us the origin story of the Cassels Black-Owned Small-Business Grant, and how did this initiative come to life? What motivated its inception?
Absolutely. I'm excited to share. So it started like a lot of initiatives after the death of George Floyd in 2020. But unlike some other initiatives, that have started or that started around the time, it was really crafted to be something long term. It wasn't as just kind of an offhand response to a terrible tragedy. It was really about thinking how we can create long term systemic change in the Black community and also just the community as a whole. It was really the brainchild of a member of the firm, a leader in our firm, David Budd. He was just moved by what was truly a terrible event and looking for a way to motivate the firm and its people to do something that mattered and something that also represented the ethos of the firm. We're a place that's very entrepreneurial. We're a place that, unlike a lot of large Bay Street firms, aren't afraid to be creative, aren't afraid to take on small business clients with our larger institutional clients, that we're not afraid of new ideas, whether they're coming from people in the firm or outside. So it was something that really represented both this desire on behalf of him, on behalf of the rest of the firm, and its people to do something that mattered for the Black community at a really crucial point, but also to be representative of the things that matter to the firm in terms of its business, its approach to its own business. And so that's how it started. It was initially completely funded by the firm and its members. It really was this passion project of the people who participated, and it grew. We were joined by one of our clients, Wheaton Precious Metals. The firm matches contributions of its members. And now we're in our 4th year, which is really exciting. We're able to provide $100,000 in grants to small businesses across the country in 3 of our office locations. So we're really excited to be in our 4th year.
Wow, congrats to that. And, we'd love to also understand any challenges or milestones that you came across while developing this grant program, and how could it just shape the grant's development as well?
It speaks to kind of an earlier point I made about making sure we were doing something sustainable. It's one thing to care in the moment. It's one thing to say something bad has happened and we want to respond or be seen as responding, which I think is what motivated a lot of other organizations to start their own initiatives at that time. It's another thing to think long term and to be asking for that sustainable commitment from the people. Like I said, it started as a personal passion project. And so when we were collecting, or when David was collecting grant funds from the people at the firm itself, and our clients, it was it was difficult to say, well, it's not just 1 year. We need this for 3 years. We want this to be something that's sustainable, that's systemic, that creates real change beyond just now. And so that's a big ask.
It is.
And I think the the lack of hesitance that our members at the firm that they had in saying, yes, this is something that I will commit the next 3 years to. And that, the lack of hesitance we see this time, renewing that 3-year commitment, going into our 4th year and looking forward to the next 3, that people had kind of giving again, is represents, that scary challenge, but represents, the appetite certainly of our firm, of its people, but I think of a lot of people to see real change happen and to have it be long term.
Now, your insights really offer a deeper understanding of how innovative, initiatives like the one at Castle is really shaping the future for the corporate social responsibility for, other organizations. Let's kind of consider the broader landscape of workplace dynamics, right? Now, it's very interesting to reflect on external influences such as activism and their impact on corporate policies and culture. Now, Bethany, in your journey, how have you seen community activism contribute to creating more inclusive work environments? And what are some of the examples from your experience at Cassels?
Absolutely. I think I'll actually start outside of my experience at Cassels. So I'm a trained lawyer, went to law school, and I started in the legal community not that long ago, but the face of the legal community still looked a little different. It was only 2017 that I became a lawyer, and when I was a student before that, I tried to start a Black affinity group. At my firm, it was a large Bay Street firm. It was me and another student, and there were 2 Black lawyers, and we said, we have critical mass. We can do it. And we were pretty quickly dismissed out of hand, and, it didn't work. And I, left Bay Street soon after that. I worked in boutiques for a while before returning to Bay Street in my role at Cassels. And I had a moment where a couple students came to me and they said, we want to start this affinity group. There's this gap that um, doesn't reflect our experience. And within the week, I was able to help them do that. They had a budget, they had an event, they had a buy-in from senior leadership, and they're now ratified as an affinity group. And I got to see that the access to the resources of this large organization, of the law firm, the buy-in by the people who have the influence, the money, and really allowing people who have diverse backgrounds, diverse views, and diverse interests and needs to invest those resources into things that matter to them, both within the firm and outside of the legal community. I see now how that affects people's experience in the workplace. I get to see not just for them that engagement and that excitement, but the investment by the firm in doing that, I truly believe is going to create an environment where people are going to stay longer, they're going to work harder, they're going to be more engaged in the work that they actually do. And also, this is a legal profession. We're serving communities, we're serving the entire community. And if we're not representative of the communities that we serve, if we're not investing in the communities that we serve, we're failing to do our job as lawyers. We're doing a bad job. And so there is this business case, I feel, for creating these spaces where people feel included, where they feel like they have access to these resources in a meaningful way to create change for themselves in the workplace, yes, but also outside in the community.
No, the influence of external movements, on corporate environments that you've described is quite profound. It's quite evident that activism can have a very significant role in shaping and promoting inclusivity and equitable work environments for sure. Now, as we examine the intersection of social responsibility and business strategy, there's a growing emphasis on diversity within the corporate sector that merits discussion. What is the business case for supporting Black-owned businesses, and how does this align with Castle's broader objectives in the business community?
So to start, and not to belabor the point, but there's the inclusion piece, which I think, we already know that people who feel represented and supported in their workplace are more engaged. They work harder, they do better work, but also more diverse workforces. They they spur innovation and they do better work as well for the clients that they're serving. Like I said, as lawyers, we need to be representative of the communities that we serve. It's how we do a good job.
Right.
But also, I think, and it speaks to specifically this initiative and Cassels' investment in small businesses and small Black-owned businesses is really represents kind of the firm's understanding and acknowledgement of the fact that small businesses, they are not only fundamental to our communities being able to be responsive to economic change and need and demands of those communities, but also small businesses grow. They become big businesses. They
Right.
become the type of institutional clients that we have down the line. We're an old firm. We've been around for 135 years, and baked into the way we've done things is that entrepreneurial spirit, but also we get to see over that 135 years, we've seen the growth of businesses that came to us small. We've benefited with them because we've grown with them. We've supported them from those early stages. So now we
Right.
get to really invest in communities that have systemically not had access to the resources they need to grow their businesses in a way that creates, change and support for the community, but also we presumably, like, we all benefit, right?
That's
we
true.
all benefit from the growth of all businesses. We're a business serving corporate law firm, and it would be short-sighted to think that we are not going to benefit from the success and growth of any business, regardless of the background of the people who start it. So if Black businesses are not growing, they're not serving their communities, they're not being successful, then, we've lost clients, frankly. Like, we've lost potential clients. This is, so there's just simply a business case for doing it.
Right.
And we're lucky that, again, there's buy-in and the people who are here at the firm are excited for it as well.
Well, thank you so much for shedding light on the strategic integration of diversity within the business world. I mean, your perspective really, underscores how social responsibility and corporate strategy can really work towards a greater impact. But Bethany, looking at the tangible impacts of financial support programs, these initiatives tend to be more effective in shaping both individual businesses and the wider community. What impact did the Black-owned small business grant has had over the years and for both the recipients and the broader community?
So we're really fortunate that a number of our recipients, we've been able to work with them kind of long term. So the grant, while it gives funds, also gives pro bono support to small businesses. And so few businesses are able to really afford at those early stages that basic business support and also the extensive resources that our lawyers have on top of their expertise to provide that support. And so being able to give that to the businesses and help shepherd them through, especially those early startup years while they struggle with concepts like incorporation and intellectual property, we give that an immediate benefit, certainly. And now we also get to bring in businesses and work with them. We bring in regularly our business. I think it was our first year, but don't quote me on that. We had a business run by an entrepreneur named Lola Adeyemi called It's Super. She scaled up by using, of course, the funds that we were able to give her, used our pro bono services, but now we get to use her for events that we do. She's taught classes, cooking classes during Black History Month. We've brought her soups in for catering for events. So we get to actually support her in that ongoing way. And because she used the funds in the way that she did in those early stages, she's been able to scale up in a way that makes her an excellent partner for us for these sorts of initiatives. So it's really this kind of back and forth continuing really beneficial relationship. And we like to see how how the small businesses we support grow, support them at every stage, both financially and then again with pro bono services, and see how we can integrate them in our own business in any way we can as well.
I mean, it's great. The stories and the outcomes that you've shared really, underscore the profound effect that the funds can have on businesses and the community skills altogether. Now, in the context of professional development, Bethany, especially in the fields as dynamic as law, the role of mentorship and guidance stands out as a key factor for career progressions. Now, as someone as passionate about mentoring young lawyers, what advice would you give to young professionals starting their carriers in today's legal landscape?
Hmm. Um, I would take any advice anyone gets with a grain of salt, so I'll say it,
Yeah.
but I'll also say feel free to ignore it. I would say there's a space for you here. I didn't feel that there was, and I know that others don't at many stages in their career as well, not just because of my background or being a Black woman, just because also when you're a lawyer or you're a law student, you work with a lot of really smart, successful people,
Mm-hmm.
and you lose perspective, and that you forget that you're smart and successful. And I think you also forget something I alluded to earlier, that you're serving the community, and to do that. Uh, you just have to be a part of it and
Right.
want to. And so there's space in this profession for everyone, um, because there needs to be, for it to be the type of profession it has to be. And so I would just encourage anyone at those early stages, feeling that moment of imposter syndrome, which we all feel.
Mm-hmm.
I would just remind them that they're supposed to be here and that there's space for them here in the profession.
Now, adding to that, are there any particular areas of focus or skills that they should prioritize to excel in their early careers?
Hmm. I think that, speaking to my earlier point about that, there being a lot of room for different types, there's also a lot of room for different skills, different interests, different support that you can give to people. I would encourage people to, early in their kind of academic career, prioritize doing things that they love and thinking really thoughtfully about why they love them before they enter the profession, and looking, when they're looking at where or how they want to enter the legal profession, looking for the reflections of those things that they loved, what
Mm-hmm.
interests them, what excites them. For me, what really excited me when I was before law school was people. Like, I was so interested in how the law was just this mediation between different interactions between
Right.
people. I thought that was fascinating. And while when I practiced, it was something that was tough for me to carry the people burden for my clients. It's something that I think made me really good at what I do now, which is working with students and working with people. It's something I feel really passionately about, making the legal profession accessible. I feel in my role that I get to do that. And I think that I get to pull from this early passion and skill that I had, which is supporting people and thinking really thoughtfully about the interactions between people. And so I still followed that common thread, even though
Mm-hmm.
my career took maybe an unconventional path. So I think, thinking about that thing that you love, and in whatever area that is, and it maybe you're in STEM and you love, biology, and you're fascinated by those kind of scientific issues,
Mm-hmm.
certainly something I wasn't a specialist at, but, finding that in the practice of law and pursuing it, because there's space for all those skills and those interests. And there's so many interesting ways to practice law, yes, but also participate in the profession. So, yeah.
I'm really sure our listeners will really learn some solid steps that you've laid across to help them navigate and succeed the ever evolving landscape of the especially the legal profession.
Hmm.
Now, Bethany, as we contemplate the evolving landscape of the legal profession, it's intriguing to consider how current trends in diversity and inclusion might shape the future of the sector. Now, looking forward, how do you envision the evolution of diversity and inclusion initiatives in the legal sector, and what role will firms like Cassels play in this transformation?
Good question. So I hope that where we're headed is towards the integration of EDI, or equity, diversity, and inclusion, into every decision being made within organizations. I think it should be a fundamental part of how we make our decisions. I feel very encouraged when I get to participate in a firm like Cassels, and really being a leader in large law firms in making decisions that aren't on their face EDI focused or EDI driven, but making them with a mind to how we can make our spaces more diverse, more inclusive. I get to see that in how we designed our new office space to make it accessible, to create spaces for people to pray, or to for nursing mothers. I get to see
Mm-hmm.
that in the decisions that we make about how we obviously spend our funds and have initiatives like this, the Small Black-Owned Business Grant. I get to see it in the way that we design policies, like our parental leave policy, or how we support our lawyers in attending events or joining affinity groups in the larger legal profession. So I get to see that, and that gives me a lot of hope. But I also think that lawyers generally in the profession are afraid of change. They're uncomfortable with change, and we're all, taught to be very risk averse. And so I think we need to be comfortable with not only kind of proactively integrating EDI into our decision making, but also be comfortable with the fact that our concept of EDI, what it means to be inclusive, what it means to be diverse, that's going to change. I think even in the last 10 years, we've seen the inclusion of groups that were never thought of as being included under the heading of EDI, and frankly should have been things like people who are neurodiverse, or we think of are now considerations of things of like economic diversity and things like that. Again, I'm really encouraged when I see things like, Cassels this year we ratified our first neurodiversity affinity group, and not only giving lawyers again the access to resources of the firm to do things that matter for them and for others at their affinity, but also really creating a space where people can feel safe to share their concerns, but also to share just their lives with others who share the same challenges, but also the same advantages. And I think it's encouraging to create those spaces, but the more flexibility that we approach these conversations with, the challenging of the fear we have of that uncertainty, I think the better off we're going to be long term, not just as a legal profession, but hopefully as, a community as a whole. So I have a lot of hope, and I'm glad that I'm at a firm that shares my views on what EDI in the future is going to look like.
Bethany, you provided a very promising outlook, and we're very curious to see how the future unfolds. Now, on a final note, could you share some emerging trends or innovations of diversity and inclusion that you find most promising and exciting, and how might these shape the strategies of organizations like Cassels in the near future?
So one of, I think, the most promising trends, and this seems silly because maybe it's not so much a trend as just kind of a natural progression of like the hierarchy of the law, which is so tied to year of call and seniority, but it's the representation that we're seeing coming out of law schools, that we're seeing among young lawyers as we see them progress in their own careers. We are now seeing such diverse groups of lawyers come through law school. Women are largely are far outrepresenting their male counterparts in law school. People of color are more represented than they've ever been before in law schools, and they become lawyers. And with every year, they gain experience, they gain expertise, and they also gain the capacity to support their own communities and the community as a whole in the ways that are meaneful to them and also profitable to them. Frankly, the legal profession holds a lot of influence. It holds a lot of money. And this is becoming accessible to a completely new and diverse group of people. And I'm really encouraged as I see also, and not everywhere, but especially in firms such as mine, this excitement from leadership to support the transition of these young lawyers, to mentor these young lawyers as they grow in experience and as they grow in influence within these spaces. So I don't know if it's so much a trend as just like this natural evolution as people grow up and become, go from being lawyers to being judges to being other representatives in their community. And that changes everything because the law is everywhere. And again, as I said earlier, it mediates every human interaction. And so the more participation that we have by people of all backgrounds, the better we're able to do that, to mediate those interactions, to support people in every legal, challenge or opportunity that they face. And so I just think that we're going to get better at practicing law because people are moving up.
It's really encouraging to see how these natural evolutions would really, really help redefine the legal landscape. But I love the work that you're doing, Bethany. Love the work that Castle's doing, and we wish you and Castle's both continued success. Thank you so much for sharing your
Thank you.
invaluable insights and for joining us in the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
And when we look forward to having you back on here with us for more updates. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We would now like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Bethany McKoy for joining us today and sharing her invaluable insights. Her dedication to mentorship, diversity, and community engagement is truly inspiring. A special thank you to our partners as well, RBC, UPS, and Zero, for their wonderful support. And to our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine for more enlightening discussions and valuable insights. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you more stories and conversations in our upcoming episodes.